cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer.
Good evening once again, and welcome to our live Doctrine Call program for this evening. It is the 28th day of March 2023. We welcome all our viewers on GBN television, of course, you, our listeners on K105 FM, and of course, our friends on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. This evening, we're talking about a very, very important subject area. We're looking at heat-related illnesses. In recent times, we've been hearing a lot about that, especially with the rise in global temperatures. Yeah, of course, we all know about climate change and global warming, and there are significant health effects that can result from climate change and global warming. Dr. Nixon's with us as always, and it's a good time to say good evening and welcome, Doc. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm not so hot today, sir.
Not so hot? We got a little shower today.
So I tell you, where I live, it poured on several occasions last night. Poured. And people ask me, what am I talking about? The rainfall here. I mean, a mile from here, there's no rain, but it poured several times. Again, a sign of climate change. How the rain fell. I look at how the rain sets up, how the mountain set up. The mountain doesn't set up like that anymore. Normally it will come over the mountains, and I live in the basin, right? Along the valley. And as a child, up to several years ago, it would come over from the East Coast, come over the mountains, and, populate the mountains, all these big, heavy clouds, and then the rain will come down. And not so. It comes, fine clouds, go around almost the entire periphery of the mountain, right? And then it goes to the west of me, and the rain comes down. But you have these short-lived showers, very short-lived, heavy showers. I'm talking about as short as 10 seconds. It rains, and by the time you get to close the window, the rain is over. Just a whole lot, and a lot of, just different from how we knew it. And it gets back very hot. And so with all the heat, we expose ourselves to a lot of challenges. Our bodies cannot adjust as fast as the climate has changed. So that's probably the basis of which we can, by which we can get ill.
Yes,
but,
yes.
There are places where it didn't rain at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you understand. The concern is that I don't think any of us in the health fraternity is trained to deal with the climatic changes that we're experiencing, to understand how things may happen. And patients may come into the ER, they may come into different places, and we wouldn't understand exactly what's going on, because there are things we're going to have to learn in order so that we can save as many lives as possible.
Yes, indeed. Well, climate change is as real can be. We can see the patterns. I mean, those of us who follow that, you'd realize that a lot is happening. As you mentioned, the changes, and of course, there is a difference between, weather and climate, and we can see the difference. Of course, sometimes you can always get a shower here, a shower there, but when you have patterns that are gradually changing, and we're seeing higher temperatures, all over, places where ice once covered, like in the Arctic, it is now melting. A clear indication of climate change. Temperatures are rising, and we have to be very mindful of all of these things, because I always say, when we first heard about COVID-19 in Wuhan, China, no one paid attention. No one thought that it could get here, because it started so far away. And before we knew it, we lost over 200 lives in Grenada, and thousands of people were infected with COVID-19. I'm saying that to say...
I'll tell you better. I was reading an article that I had posted 2 years ago at this time, in the height of COVID, that said, 3 years actually, 2020, where they had 5 cases in Italy, and they asked people to remain isolated, and nobody paid any mind.
Yeah, right.
Within a month, they had like probably 2,000 deaths.
Well,
remember what happened in Italy first?
Yeah.
Right? And thousands of people infected with COVID, and a lot of their older population, they lost in places where they had the oldest population in the world. And these are people who lived well, who were quite wealthy. But we have to listen to the story. We have to listen to the warnings. There's so many conspiracy theories, because I think the conspiracy theorists didn't look at the science and doubted the science even to the end when all the evidence was there. We knew that if you kept isolated, COVID would disappear. It would be attenuated. The virus wouldn't be as strong. It wouldn't get a chance to mutate and change. And we told people, and they told us it was the myriad of stories that came of what we wanted to do and who wanted to control and want to kill off Black people and all the foolishness we tend to see.
That's right.
The truth is that climate change is real.
That's the point. I said that because, not so long ago, a gentleman called here on the radio and told me that climate change is a hoax, and we're not paying attention.
Is his name Donald?
I don't know. I didn't care to find out. But the truth is, we need to pay attention. When these things, the world has become so small that we need to pay attention to these things because our actions are what leading to this rise in global temperatures, all the greenhouse gases and that traps heat and all of that. So it's important that we pay attention to that. The cutting of trees and clearing of land and not planting back trees, all of these things, although they may seem minute, but they do play a role. And if we do what we're supposed to do, then clearly we can slow the impact of climate change.
The other challenge is that the bigger, wealthier, industrialized nations have actually been the greatest offenders. Yet our little countries are the ones that are going to be the greatest sufferers.
Definitely.
And that's why we have to be very, very, very aware and be very proactive, take action early. Remember when Carriacou wouldn't get rain?
Yeah.
What did Uncle Gary say? You supposed to know, you're old enough to know the promotion. Carry a tree to Carriacou.
Okay. No, I didn't know that.
Every time you take the boat, he advised you, when you're going up to Carriacou, carry a tree and plant it.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And that helped Carriacou a lot.
It's important.
With whole climatic challenges.
It's important. It's important because it's a discussion that needs to be held, very, very seriously. We do a program every Wednesday evening on climate change. And, I urge people to pay attention because we have a lot of people coming in to share a lot of very, very important information. So, I urge people to pay attention to what is happening. Don't take it for granted because you might find yourself in a situation when it actually hits you, it's too late. So it is very, very important. And tonight we want to focus...
Unfortunately, I couldn't join that program. I so wanted to be, because I really wanted to hear the health issues, and not just the bigger ones, the things that a general practitioner, a nurse in the community would experience. But there was a blackout in my community for a few hours, and then the internet took like 3 hours to come back, and I missed it.
The program is online, it's on YouTube, and it's on the Facebook page.
I wanted to participate. I wanted to send questions because I had genuine concerns. Because I don't think we're quite ready yet. We don't understand. We're not as aware. That level of acuteness that awareness should be manifesting, we're not as aware yet. And again, these things have to be included into the curricula of people who go to medical school. It has to be included that even if we have already gone to medical school and nursing school and public health school, there must be opportunities for us to learn of these new phenomena. Just like we had to learn over about HIV, and we had to learn about new medications in hypertension and new modalities in managing diabetes. We have to learn the new things, and these are big things. One of the other things you have to learn is the whole issue of crime. We've seen the rise in crime and how it's going to affect our population and our population's well-being in general.
Well,
so there are lots of things that are not written really into the books, but have become new ways of life that we have to be able to
But all of these things, you might be surprised to know how climate change can actually lend to violence. I mean, it's so connected, and you know, I think people really need to take this thing serious, because it's all connected, and you know, it's amazing in countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan. It's clear. You just have to pay attention.
There.
Yes, it's already there. You can just need to pay attention to what is happening. You know. So tonight, folks, we want to look at the whole issue of heat-related illnesses, because with the rise in global temperatures, there's going to be a lot of that. Last week, we had Dr. Lindona Telesford sharing with us information from research that was done, empirical evidence of what is actually happening, and it is important. And of course, with the rise in temperatures, you have things like heat strokes, exhaustion, which we are going to spend some time on this evening, how it can affect you and how you can prevent yourself from getting into that, because heat strokes can lead to death. And you might be surprised that there are lots. Heat
stroke is a medical emergency.
It is.
Patient goes into needs to go into ICU. Heat stroke is a severe medical emergency that you just can't manage by dipping somebody in water or giving them a little bit of water to drink. Heat stroke means already there's more profound injury to tissues, your brain, your lung, your heart, everything, because of the severe electrolytic imbalance that occurs.
So now, I want to share, before we get into discussion, I want to share a little bit, because I usually pay a lot of attention to a site called Mayo Clinic, and they have a lot of reputable information, and they have some information on heat exhaustion. So I just want to share with the audience a little bit, and then we would get into a discussion. And it says, heat exhaustion is a condition whose symptoms may include heavy sweating and a rapid pulse, a result of your body overheating. It's one of the 3 heat-related syndromes, with heat cramps being the mildest and heat stroke being the most severe. Causes of heat exhaustion include exposure to high temperatures, particularly when combined with high humidity and strenuous physical activity. Without prompt...
It sounds like you're at intercom. I'm serious.
Without prompt treatment, heat exhaustion can lead to heat stroke, a life-threatening condition. But fortunately, heat exhaustion is preventable. So Doc, let's talk a little bit about that, and how your body will react to high temperatures and heat, and what it can cause.
A regulatory system, a way of pulling you down when you get hot, right? So you start sweat, right? That's what it is. It produces sweat from your bloodstream, and the water comes through your skin with some electrolytes to cool you down. You have an engine running hot, you run water around it, and that cools it down, okay? So like the engines that make all the electricity and all that power that we use have turbines that put water around them and keep them cool so they can continue to turn and put out more. So your body, what happens? I'm hot, my blood vessels dilate, and this thing called sweat comes out to cool me down, right? The hotter you get, the more sweat your body thinks it needs to
cool you down, right?
To provide, right? Plus, you also make the engine run a little faster. The heart is what pushes the blood around the body. Your heart starts running faster, okay? So eventually other things will happen. You can become dehydrated, loss of a lot of body fluids, loss of electrolytes. Electrolytes are those salts. If it tastes sweat, it don't taste like water. It tastes salty.
Yeah, a little salty,
right?
yes.
So those are electrolytes that your body has: potassium, sodium, chloride, whatever it is, right? Those things are important for making your heart and your muscles work. So at first, they talk about having the simple cramps, okay? You know, you go down, you're jogging and your body get hot and stuff. Ow, you get a Charlie horse. You know, your calves hurt, your muscles hurt a little. Put back in some electrolytes and you're fine. Sometimes just a little bit of salt water, right? And you're good. If you lose your electrolyte, your heart can stop, because those are the things that, when in balance, keep your muscles pumping. Because you need muscles to stand up, you need muscles to move, you need muscles to lie down, you need muscles to whatever you're going to do, anything that has to do with movement, whether it's potential or kinetic energy being expended. You have to have your muscles work, right? When you become dehydrated, it means that you've lost a lot of fluids, and those electrolytes just don't balance out anymore. The more severe it gets, the more severe your symptoms become. So you can go from just having cramps that you don't pay attention to. Sometimes you can just shake it out and it goes away. But sometimes you need more than shake. You need to get some replacement fluids, okay? Mm-hmm. And sometimes in the beginning, just water will help. But sweat is not water, right? Sweat is not water. Sweat has electrolytes. It has salts that your body needs for its normal function in there. So you have to make sure that you replace or you prevent by making sure that you're sufficiently hydrated that after you walk. If you're running and you feel like, Lord, I'm feeling faint, I'm feeling tired, my muscles are hurting, you need to stop. Mm-hmm. Your body's not hurting because it wants to build resilience. Your body's hurting because your body's saying, hey, something wrong here. Time to stop. Okay? Time to stop and fix me. I'm making noise. I'm crying out. Mm-hmm. Right? If it continues from this heat exhaustion, which has milder symptoms, which can be treated by just putting you in a cool place, turn on a fan on you, put you in a cool bath, giving you rehydration fluids, and all the rest of it. You can go on to have a heat stroke where your brain is not affected. You can become unconscious, and where those minimal interventions, those everyday cursory interventions that you can apply, make no sense. Because by the time of heat stroke, you probably need to be certainly in a hospital setting, certainly having professional management. Mm-hmm. Okay? As a matter of fact, they tell you if you think someone has a heat stroke, do not give them water, because they don't really need water now. They need other things. So you can actually make it worse. Right? And certainly if it's not treated, the person can die. So I think the most important thing for all of us as people living in this world, and we'll talk about Grenada, where it's kind of hot. Last week there was March, and we had temperatures of 30. 30 is what you experience in July and August, in the middle of what we call the summer months. Okay? We had all this rain in January and February, and all of a sudden, here comes the sun, doobie, right? And the sun came with a lot of brethren. I mean, the sun came and was hot and miserable, right? But it was also humid. There's a lot. We live close to the equator. It's normal for the place to be humid. And that's what the problem is, because you have this humidity, right? And you have all this heat. So your body probably not producing enough cooling down as it can, right? So you're hot, but you're in a hot place. That's not going to stop that sensation of exhaustion, because the sun is hot, the environment is hot, plus the air around you is hot and damp, cannot help you. You need to be in a place where it's cool, where the amount of vapor, hot vapor, is little, okay, so that you can get better. So we have our young children. We just had school sports and stuff, right? We have our young children out there, they're running, and they probably don't feel it. We have to look out for those symptoms. Is my child cold and clammy? Does he start having cramps? Does he start feeling unwell? Does he have nausea? Does he have headache? All of those things we have to look out for. We have what's it called? What do you have in this week?
Intercall.
I tend to say chance because there's another jurisdiction that calls it chance, right? And young athletes that are competitive in particular may not take into consideration the fact that their bodies function a little differently. Yeah, hot. I'm feeling hot, so what? It's hot anyway, right? Plus, they're not going to let a little feeling hot, a little headache stop them from winning a gold medal, right? Because that's how it is. The teachers in particular have a responsibility. The coaches and the teachers of the children need to look at the kids and make sure that they don't have it, okay? And these symptoms will not just come on suddenly, they may come on insidiously. Take the time and creep onto the child, right? The kids who are not running now are often warming up or doing exercises or learning to pass the baton or learning to start off, how you start and how you get the momentum going. They're always busy. And even kids in school, we have break, running up and down, right? You're out there and you're exposed, okay? Symptoms can come on. So, it's hot, but your skin can feel cool and moist because of all the moisture in the air and the fact that you're sweating profusely, right? Yet you feel the goosebumps on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about heavy sweating. Child feels faint because his blood volume is lower because he's been losing all of this fluid. Dizziness, feeling very tired. Remember, you need muscular strength. If your muscle is not functioning well, you can feel extremely tired, right? Your pulse is weak, often weak and rapid. Right? Weak because you don't have a lot of volume in. You may have lost a lot of fluids from the sweating or just starting off dehydrated anyway, right? But it's your heart still saying, I need to take care of this. I need to cool down this body, and it's running this turbine really fast, right? Blood pressure may drop when you're standing. It's called hypostatic, orthostatic hypotension. Hypo, it drops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simply because you have a little bit of volume, right? And when you stand up and the blood vessels dilate a little, you drop,
Right.
okay? We talk about muscle cramps, nauseas and headache. So those are signs. And one person may not have all of those symptoms, right? But they might come on one after the other. And that is the kind of hallmark of what heat exhaustion looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Remember also, if you look at the tongue, right? The tongue might look a little dry as part of the whole dehydration picture, right? So I hope that coaches and teachers and people who give care to others, because we have to remember that seniors who live by themselves, who generally don't have the habit of drinking a lot of water or keep themselves hydrated, I might lock the house and leave them inside. Go figure. There's probably no good exchange of air. It's hot. The weather is humid, right? And older people don't drink a lot of water. Generally, most of them don't. That's why people have cognitive challenges,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you usually have to cajole them to drink even a little bit on a good day.
Yeah.
So think about it on a day when they need more. We have known how when you have heat waves in Europe and stuff, where a lot of people live alone, older people die. They die by the dozens simply because they haven't had access to the proper rehydration and to the proper environmental control. Okay? So, you have kids running up and down, and this is also called for in the summer because it's going to get hotter. There's no two ways about it. If March is so hot, try to imagine what crazy July is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy July, what do we have? All the carnival fetes, right? And everybody come down from foreign, and it's just lots of people everywhere, and it's hot and it's still humid. Yeah, we may have rain, but the bottom line is that it's hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's humid, and we're too busy partying and having a good time to consume fluids or to find a place where it's cooler. We just think it's acceptable for it to be so hot. No, it's not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And this hot is not last year hot, I can tell you. In my own office, I just discovered I have to put in AC elsewhere. That I could come in the morning, put on an AC unit, and my office can cool down. That is not happening. The climate is saying, sit down there. You can't catch me. Go fix this, okay? Because I'm taking my path. I've tried to keep it off because I don't want to create more injury to the environment, but we've been building our buildings like that, so our buildings are hot.
Mm-hmm.
and our buildings get humid, and we don't have proper ventilation, we don't have good crosswind and stuff. So we don't have that external help to ensure that our bodies remain cool. So if you start feeling the symptoms, like I say, headache, fatigue, dizziness, your skin wet and sweaty, and you can't concentrate, and you know you feel weak, your muscles feel weak, you get muscle cramps and all the rest, kind of difficult to move around. First thing you do is to remove yourself from that environment, right? Move to a cooler place, or just a cool place if it's hot, and drink a lot of water, right? Because you want to expand back your volume, right? And sports drinks. One thing about sports drinks is that they're necessary because they replace the electrolytes very quickly. But remember, we also consume a lot of sugar.
Yes, we do.
So you can alternate a sports drink with water, okay? For those of us who don't have sports drink, guess what? Water with a little tips of lime juice, a tips of sugar, and tips of salt. Or you don't have to put the lemon juice is mostly for flavor, right? But just enough to taste. And you can give replacement. You know? In the case where your body doesn't adjust, because sometimes you don't pay it any mind, and by the time you realize that you're having challenges, you're already very sick and heading to have a heat stroke. With which, if in an hour you don't feel better, you need to seek care. If you've been doing what you have to do, get sponged down, wet down, or your child, whatever it is, you have to go and get care. Okay? So after the first aid, you have to move quickly. We have to move quickly with our little children because they die fast. Those brains get fried and they die quickly. Okay? Remember, in the case of a child, the majority, over 90% of the body is water. So you have to make sure you keep that balance properly, right? We have to have the first aid facilities to understand and help people to go through this. So seek attention. 100 of us go to the hospital, 90 of us going to be still waiting on siren, the first 10 get thrown. So people have to be able to identify, right? When the heat is getting to me. And you say, boy, this heat is getting to me. If it's too hot for you, move out of the environment, right? But remember, again, those who cannot do it for themselves, like our little children who don't understand, your babies, right? And older people who depend on you to help them to understand, or to understand for them what their chances are, right? If you start to get worse, agitated, confused, lose, you can't take anything by mouth, you get unconscious, the truth is you already just have heat stroke already and need to be taken to the hospital.
Right.
Our aim is to avoid having any challenges that is brought on by this changed environment. Okay? We have to be aware that there are changes and that we're going to have to do other things to keep our bodies cool. Wear less clothing. I'm not saying to go naked, but wear clothing that are conducive to the environment. You know, some of us have to walk around with the fleecy stuff and we have on a hoodie and all this stuff. The truth is, we need to wear clothes that are properly, that ventilate us appropriately. And I know that people of different religious inclinations. With all due respect, I want you to do that, but I want you to be aware. So people who wear like burqas and stuff, we probably wear lighter colored burqas because the darker the clothes, the more heat it attracts. Your children generally wear light clothes, you know, that their body can be kept cool. You may need to cover them from the sun. We still can wear umbrella and hat, you know. That's a good thing, all right? But try and not expose yourself into the environment that will cause you to get sick.
Right. So, Doc, I want to just share with our listeners some of the things that, in terms of symptoms for heat exhaustion. And you're talking about, and you mentioned some of them, cool, moist skin with goosebumps when in the heat. So, and you mentioned earlier, you're outside, you're sweating, but you're getting goosebumps. Pay attention to that. Heavy sweating. Faintness, you're feeling faint, you feel dizzy, you feel fatigued, you have a weak, rapid pulse, all of these things. you have low blood pressure when you're standing, muscle cramps, nausea, headache. All of these things are signs. Now, there's something very interesting, Doc, that I want to share with you and the listeners as well. Well, Harvard University, they have done probably, that's the university who have probably done the most research and work on climate change and heat related illnesses. And in one of the articles, they said that heat waves can be fatal for many reasons. Hearts, brains, and lungs are all sensitive to heat stress, and when they get overheated, they fail. They went on to say, and I found that one very interesting because I did not even realize that higher mortality during heat wave has been attributed predominantly to failure of the organs that we mentioned before. Mm. And for our women, they say that fetuses born to women who were exposed to extreme heat may be at greater risk of neural tube and other birth defects. And that's information from Harvard University.
So that says that our brain is still the most sensitive organ. Mm-hmm. And remember that your brain controls all of the other functions, right, in your body. So if your brain becomes damaged or functions lower, it means your brain controls your breathing, right? Your brain controls your nervous system and how your heart is going to beat. Right? Your brain sends messages to your endocrine system as to how to work. So if that central, this like the central processing unit in your computer, if that fails, there's no other app you can use. The other apps become deficient.
That's right.
Right? Become defective. And that is why we're saying you have to keep, when your baby have a fever, I talk about real fever, okay? Mm-hmm. And sometimes mothers take the babies to the hospital or to the clinic, and nurse start the baby and the baby bawling because the truth is the water is really cold when your body's so hot, right? Advise the mother to put a cold compress, and even on yourselves, because here in your temple you have a lot of blood vessels, right? And if you put a wet rag, it could be room temperature water. Just put it there because you have to protect your brain, right? So a child starts looking thing, get a cold compress and put in his temple, not on the forehead because the big old bone in front there kind of protect is a barrier. On the temple, so you can get cool blood circulating around the brain. Okay, you have to know what to do, because this is a new set of challenges we're going to have. People say, oh, we're going to get on a tree. The tree ain't going to have no leaf.
Well, no, because it's getting hotter.
It's getting hot. And even think about Pakistan. 2 summers ago, when they had 140-something degrees, people's shoes started melt on the road. You can't control that.
But sometime late last year, remember what happened in England?
Right. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's the reality. We're already hot. We could go in the river water gonna be warm. So we can't run. Okay? We can't run, and it's even worse to hide. So we have to figure out how are things gonna be managed. And you said it in the beginning. We really have to work on protecting our environment as far as possible. Right? We're not gonna have as much water. We're going to have droughts. But there are other things that come in that's going to be problematic. We may not have as many hurricanes as they've told us. But the hurricanes that we are going to have are going to be really dangerous hurricanes when they do come around. Then you mean you don't have no house. Where you going to shelter? You may not have a lot of water to take care of your needs. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what I miss that. I'm sorry I miss that, because you're not going to have medications, because you're not going to have access if you haven't taken care of medications. Right? There are a lot of things that are going to happen. But as these disasters come, it's going to be more difficult because people are going to become disenfranchised in a lot of the basic security ways that we have. And so therefore we have to be aware that our lives are changing. It's not business as usual.
We have to learn to adapt. We have to learn to adapt.
Huh?
We have to learn to adapt and
we have to learn to adapt
and do what is necessary.
Because this is happening. This is not unreal.
Definitely.
We have to learn to adapt.
So let's take a short break here.
We have to learn to build with houses that can create. We have current. We have air flowing through. You know, we like the big modern houses that have one little porthole window on one side of the whole building and have AC. When the electricity gone, where you got AC from? When there's no more petrol, where you going to turn on your Delco?
You know, I haven't heard that in a long time. Let's take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us, folks. Well, we will be opening our line a little later on, so you can ask your questions and, of course, contribute to the program as well. We'll be back in a moment.
Omega XL is a highly concentrated omega supplement in a small and easy to swallow capsule. It comes from green lipped mussels, which are sustainably grown in New Zealand, away from pollution and civilization. These mussels contain EPA, DHA, and over 30 free fatty acids that together fight pain and inflammation. Omega XL contains 22 times more free fatty acids in an easily absorbed, bioavailable form, which means one small soft gel of Omega XL has greater inflammation fighting and pain relieving power than 10 capsules of standard fish oil. This is your moment. The moment to live life at its fullest. Don't let your pain get in the way. Get back to an active life. Omega XL really works.
Don't wait to find relief from inflammation. Get Omega XL at your local pharmacy or health food store today. You have nothing to lose but your pain.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100-pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG. Clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas? Get Rubis, get going.
WeatherGuard Pro. For every project, there's only one Pro.
What's up, Grenada? I can't wait to see you on April 15th for the Reggae Fest, the big show at the Grenada National Stadium, featuring some of your favorite reggae artists. This feels like a homecoming. I can't wait to see you, Grenada. What if I love? See you then. Ace.
Have you heard about the new Softweave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Softweave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue, available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Softweave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
At Guardian Group, we've seen so many of our customers achieve great things. So, it's no surprise that after 175 years, our optimism is stronger than ever. Because when you've partnered with people to achieve their best lives as long as we have, you tend to see the world a little brighter every day. Guardian Group. Live easy.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spicile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spicile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. We operate at Grenville and the Carnage. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679 or 440-1500 or visit any of our locations. Spicile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor and Call, and we're looking at heat-related illnesses, specifically heat exhaustion. And those of you who joined us late, we're happy to have you. And of course, our telephone line is open. The number is 435-2041. So if you have any questions as it relates to that, you can give us a call and we'll be happy to share whatever information we have with you. All right, the number again, 435-2041. You can also post your questions via our WhatsApp platform and of course on our Facebook page. And of course, we would address them. So, Doc, continuing, I just wanted to highlight a little bit here. There are other causes of heat exhaustion, dehydration, and alcohol use, and
behaviors.
Overdressing. We touched dehydration earlier, but I want you to talk a little bit about the alcohol use and the overdressing. And I'm going to also ask you if lack of adequate dress can also lead to that, because we see a lot of that.
Oh, yeah, because I've seen some carnival costumes. So we probably need to look at core temperature, right? The heat in your body, right? Your body has its own natural heat. It's kept alive. It's an active. You're an active organism. Your body's has its own temperature, which it ranges, but the average temperature is like 98 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees centigrade, right? And that is where you have a good balance between what's going on inside and how the environment is. So those are the two components that influence what your core, the temperature within the middle of your body, the center, right? Your body's internal temperature. Mm-hmm. So, your body's always regulating. That depends on where you are. Remember we talked about it. If it gets too hot, the blood vessels dilate. Somebody tell you open the windows, drink some more water. If it gets too cold, you put on layers, okay, until you feel comfortable again. Because you want to keep that 37 or that 98 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Sometimes your body has challenges in regulating, especially if one overdoes the other. So your core temperature changes, right? In hot, humid weather, it's kind of difficult to really regulate your core temperature. And so you have to do stuff. Find cool spaces, change the environment, drink water, drink cool fluids, right? So you can get back that balance, all right? If you don't have that balance and it tends towards heating up, then is when you start to get all the cramps and all the discomfort, right? But dehydration is one influence on its own. it means that you don't have enough fluids in your body.
Yes,
and
that's
if
right.
those fluids don't exist with a nice balance. Okay, so if a baby develops vomiting or diarrhea, or an adult develop vomiting or diarrhea, if you're not consuming enough fluid, again we talk about seniors who habitually don't consume a lot of fluids, right? They can become dehydrated. Alcohol use. Why you think alcohol use bothers you? Alcohol makes your blood vessels dilate anyway, but it also makes you lose a lot of fluids. Okay, so blood vessels dilate, yeah, but you might get a little cooling at first, but you lose a lot of body fluids, so you become dehydrated at the end of all of that, right? Overdressing. You talk about overdressing and underdressing. If you put on too much clothes, your body's temperature on its own is going to be too much, right? It's going to go up because you're going to trap all that body heat, and you will have challenges. Right. I know for athletes, I know that the clothing they make tends to cool them down quickly. It absorbs the fluids, the sweat, and cools down their bodies. So they've done that. A lot of that priests and religious clerics, right? Some of them, like the Catholics, the Orthodox churches and stuff, use a lot of clothing. They actually have a lot of them have high-tech clothing that actually keeps their bodies cool, right? So the fabric doesn't heat up as quickly, and it helps them to maintain a decent temperature, right? But you spoke about underdressing, and I think that's very important because remember, is a balance between what's inside of your body and what's outside.
Yes, indeed.
So if you're drinking, if you're in a carnival fete or any big fete and you're drinking a lot, you go to the bathroom or in a big place. But I want to talk about inside first. You're drinking a lot. You're drinking alcohol, which makes you go to the bathroom often and on its own increases your body temperature, right? You're dehydrated, and right. So your body on its own is already above what's supposed to be normal. And if you're in a place that's hot,
that's right,
or parties have. Obviously, sometimes in a space where it's just really overpopulated, you see, and everybody's so intimate, yes, to the stage and all the rest of it. And it's hot. We're just hot. The place is hot. Okay, so you have all of these factors creating that imbalance. You can have challenges. If you have on a liquid clothes and you're on the road, your body's going to heat up faster. If you're in an environment where it's hot and humid with liquid clothes, the protection that your clothing can normally give it is absent. So there you are again. So you have a whole melee of factors that can contribute negatively to your body's temperature regulation. Okay, and this is not for, it doesn't have any group of people that's going to affect more than others. It can affect young people and old people, right? So so children under 4 and adults over 65 have a greater risk because the body's don't regulate as well as other people, right?
That's right.
It's not yet fully developed, and in older people, everything starts to fall apart. Plus, old people are taking some of the medications that can actually make them have challenges in regulating their body temperature or make them dehydrated, like taking diuretics and other medication for blood pressure. That can happen, okay? And we take a lot of medications, and you find someone and say, boy, I take my medication and make my mouth so dry, right? And it does. Allergy medications, yes, it tends to dry the lining of your nose and your throat and so, but it dry up everything else, okay? So you don't have a lot of fluids to circulate to ensure that you feel better. The beta blockers, especially, and diuretics, they can make you, and some of them are drugs that we use for people with psychotic illnesses. They can also make you become very dehydrated. And of course, some of us use illegal substances for whatever reason. But those also, cocaine and amphetamines like, God, can't remember what to tell you. It's not, probably in our environment is not used a lot among our population, but expatriate populations can have challenges with use of amphetamines. And of course, fat people. You're big, your heart has to pump more blood around to cool down your body. That's going to be a challenge for you to retain, regulate your temperature, right? So excess weight gain could be a challenge. Sudden temperature changes, sometimes it's nice and cool and all of a sudden the temperature changes.
That's
so
right.
You come from North America. I saw a woman recently who came from a community where there was sleet. I mean that when the rain fall like panes of glass, okay? Came to the Caribbean, went to one island, went to the other island, and the second day she was in this other island and out on a children's playground having fun as a child.
Oh boy.
And she had heat exhaustion. Okay? Steady pulse. Her pulse was like 100 and you could hardly feel it. Her skin was dry. Right? She wasn't by the time she was seen, she wasn't there wasn't a lot of sweating. She was already dry, she was flushed, very flushed because those blood vessels trying to give off more and more fluid so it could cool down. She was having a little headache. She was having severe fatigue. She was feeling very weak. She was, she didn't want to talk, right? Can I tell you, one glass of coconut water? I kid you not. I think coconut water is magic.
Because it's filled with electrolytes.
It's filled with electrolytes. Yeah. So she had a glass of coconut water and she had some, and she came pumping like a lion. I kid you not, right? So we have there, right? But it's just at that time, remember we spoke in the beginning about the climate changing faster than our body is acclimatizing to change in climate, right? So our bodies don't know how to do this except slowly. But the effects of the environment, climate, right, is happening faster. So we have to be conscious that we have to take measures because our body now. Heat index, how does this temperature outside make you feel, right? Does it make you feel very, very hot? So it's kind of almost like subjective, but you have to know how the extreme temperature and the humidity make you feel, right? If the humidity is high, humidity speaks to how much water, how much vapor is in the air.
In the atmosphere, yes.
Right?
It's heavy.
If there's a lot of vapor, your body can't evaporate, right? And as easily, and your body has more difficulty cooling itself because you want this water to get off your skin and go into the air and cool down your body, take away the heat with it. So you want to heat this water, it vaporizes, but you already have so much vapor in the air around you that you really can't manage.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult.
Exchange,
yeah.
Right. And they'll tell you what the heat index might be in where you have meteorologists and stuff who give you update, right? And sometimes tell you today is 31 degrees, but it feels like 35.
Yeah.
Those are things you need to take into consideration, right? How are we gonna prevent it? We cannot know it. I think it's intuitive, and we spoke about it. Wear loose clothes. We talk about clothes and about wear not just low. You also need to wear not just loose fitting clothes, nor lightweight clothing. You also need to wear light colored clothing. Because the darker the color, the more it attracts heat.
Yes.
Right? From the heat rays, right? So you don't want to tight fitting and spandex and all that. You wear something that's nice and loose, as we saw what we doing in the Caribbean. Because it's so hot, you can also get sunburn as one of the things aside. And black people get sunburn, just in case we didn't know it. Go on a beach and wear a bikini and you'll see what happens.
Oh yes, definitely.
Like right? So we still need to wear
clothing that would protect you from sunburn, kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah, you wear hat, you wear sunglasses, but you also put on a sunscreen. Could be a low SPF, but you need to wear it, right? A lot of fluids, just get it. And I think what we need to learn above all is getting into the habit of just drinking a lot of water. So when we get into conditions where there is need, we are accustomed to taking in large volumes of water. Be careful of your medications. Know what your medications can do. Ask. Because those are new information that our pharmacists and our parents need to know and disseminate and practice at home, right? And of course, the big thing, don't leave your children, don't leave nobody in a parked car, okay? A parked car tends to gather a lot of heat.
That's right.
Right? Especially since a lot of our cars are dark. Darker cars are hotter. A lot of cars have dark seating. So you might have gray or black or navy or stuff, right? We don't have white leather seats in 99.9% of our cars. We have darker seats for protection so the dirt doesn't show up on all the rest, right? We kind of need to slow down our activity. There's no need to go out and play. You remember, this is years ago. I remember Martin Lawrence, comedian, would go jogging so he can sweat and lose weight fast. So he'd go jogging in the middle of the day. The days when they'd put on the sweater, the parachute material sweater, because it makes you sweat more.
Yeah.
And he ended up in a hospital. He was that ill. He ended up in a hospital. So when it's hot, maybe that's the time for you to get off the road. I think employers have to understand, how are we going to adjust this? If my gardener decides to come to work at 6 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock, and can do 6 good hours in a day, I'm not putting any ideas into people who work here, but we have to understand that not because he's a gardener means he has to be out there in the hottest time of the day, right? So if you can get a gardener to come in earlier before the sun rises, right? And people who do outdoor work, agricultural people, people
construction workers,
right?
all these people, yes.
We're going to have to change or make facilities so that they are protected from this environmental challenge, right? We don't want our children going out and play games in the middle of the day or either at school, right? So if you're going to PE in the morning, right, and they can do it. Give yourself time. If you're traveling from where it's cool to a hotter environment, give yourself a day or two to acclimatize, all right? People who are not used to the weather are susceptible. And if you know you're at risk, if you know you're older, you're younger, you're too young, or you've had heat stroke or heat-induced illnesses before, you just kind of need to know what your life is about and make and deal with that. So climate change is a reality. It's going to bring a lot of health problems. So we know, for example, with climate change, 1 billion people more are going to be affected by mosquitoes. Think about it.
Yep.
But hear this now. The hotter your body is, the more the mosquitoes is attracted to you.
Because they better developed, they bite more when temperatures are up, So,
and the numbers are greater.
Yeah, numbers are greater.
A mosquito need 1 drop of water to make it all its babies in. So they are going to be around. And there are going to be places with fallen trees and leaves that are under a little drop of water, and mosquitoes are going to proliferate. If you are exposed, if your body is extremely hot, you're at greater risk for picking up diseases. Remember also that in this time we have a lot of re-emergent diseases. A lot of things that we thought we had control over are coming back because the climatic changes are creating the perfect environment for a lot of diseases to occur again.
And Doc, one thing quickly, people with chronic conditions, they are at high risk of heat-related illnesses. So people who are, hypertensive, diabetics, people with asthma, and so respiratory conditions. Because remember that heat outside there, it is going to affect you. Doc, we have a caller on the line. Let's go to our telephone. Doctor and call. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Doc, and good evening, Godfrey. Very interesting program, and it reminded me of when school children used to wear straw hats. I saw something recently where a pre-primary school had a walkathon, and all the teachers had on caps and so, and the little children were in the hot sun bareheaded. Let me hear the doc comment on that.
Okay, thank you, caller.
And like I said at the beginning, you said a couple times, thank you for calling. But hear me. The truth is, that is why we have to disseminate information and educate everyone. Everybody has to understand. Maybe parents just send their children to school with a little floppy hat. And like always to play, they used to play cricket.
Yeah.
And they used to have your paddy. Maybe that's going to have to come back. I know one high school in Jamaica that still uses what they call their jippy japper hats the straw hats, and I think that may have come out of slavery time and colonial times when the white people wore hats. Right? They wore hats. So why can't we wear hats too?
No, but we're getting to the and you see, the point the caller made. I think it's one of a lack of information. And
I think further we're gonna have to have policy because
we have to change. We must.
We're gonna have to change.
And this is why these conversations are so important. Yeah, very. Yeah. Let's go back to the telephone.
Thank you for calling.
Doctor and call. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Well, as a matter of fact, I like the topic y'all have tonight. Long time ago, when outside is very hot, they take a young soursop, you chop it up, and put the water in a bottle, and you chop up the soursop with the skin, and will keep you cool during the day while it is hot. So we have to go back to the old time. Okay?
Thank you very much, caller.
You're welcome. That's interesting. Because my grandmother had two jars, two clay jars.
Goblets.
I don't know what they call them.
Goblets.
Two
goblets.
Two goblets.
Yes.
And she'd do that every so often. Chop up the young saucer.
Yeah, because it's for cooling. Yes.
Water. And the goblets also. That's the other thing, because the goblets kept it cool.
Yeah.
Right? You got water that was really cool. Well, the temperature wasn't as high, but the water that was really cool. And you could and you got a glass, but you only drank that for 9 days. Did you know that?
Well, I don't know how many days, but I know my grandmother and
brain,
and mother. Actually, one of the things, as you mentioned, brain. One of the things with excessive heat, is that you don't think clearly, and that affects production. And I'm saying all of this, and you can see how all of these things is so connected.
Fall into place and how they're interrelated.
Yes. Yeah. Let's go back to the telephone. Doctor, we lost that caller. 435-2041. That's the number you can call. Let's try again. Doctor and call. Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Hi.
How are you?
We're fine, thank you. How are you?
Very interested conversation tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Very interested conversation. You have a nice program. Keep on going with that program.
Thank you.
Godfrey?
Yes?
I love your program tonight.
Thank you.
We need to have more callers because the program is getting very interested.
Each one, teach one.
And Godfrey?
Yeah?
What I have to say to you, I will reiterate myself one more time. Mosquito doesn't bite. Mosquito sting. You could say sting, you could say stung. Mosquito doesn't bite. Mosquito don't have no teeth. So you could say mosquito sting.
Caller, can I ask you a question?
Hello?
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, yeah, I'm listening here.
You ever see a mosquito mouth?
Mosquito, listen to me. Mosquito.
No, I just ask you if you ever see a mosquito mouth.
No, but you keep on saying mosquito bite. Mosquito sting.
Thank you, caller.
When a mosquito rests on you, eh?
Thank you. Thank you, caller.
When a mosquito rests on you,
it
look for your pores. That is the small holes where the hair normally be.
Yes.
And it look for the holes. When you get the holes,
and he sting you know.
He sting in the hole.
Right.
That's why sometimes you feel when he sting you. And then
can we say
when
can we say that mosquito juke you?
He sting in the hole. The mosquito cock up one of his foot to get for chest to pull up more blood. He pull up.
I love that.
Unless he ain't cock up his foot, he can't pull up the blood from you. Right?
Well, caller, you're expert on mosquitoes?
What's a mosquito? When it fly on you, it doesn't sting you at the same time. You look for your pores.
Yes.
Your pores is a weak spot.
And then it can
so it sting down in your pore, the whole in your body. Shove this thing down there. It cock up 1 foot.
So let me hold one question. Does it when it cock up the foot before or after it sting you? Which one?
After it shove down the needle in the whole of your body. It can't be food to take real purchase to put out the blood as quick as possible.
Okay,
thank you, Carla. No, I want to ask
when
a question.
I want to ask you a question. Then most time he's very so full, he try to fly away. You hear me? Doc, am I right or wrong?
I want to ask you a question. So can we say in Grenadian parlance then that mosquito juke you? Have a good night.
Thank you, caller. All the best. All right, the mosquito stings. 435 to a little light moment. Thank you very much, caller. 435-2041. That's the number you can call, and you can ask your question or make your contribution. Doc, someone on our WhatsApp platform is saying, "Good evening. My lips get very dry, and they want to know why."
Because first of all, I can ask you: are you consuming enough fluids? Because we don't. Most of us do not. They claim that we've lost our thirst reflex, right? So somebody trusts you and going to eat something when it's really and truly you should just have like a glass of water. If your lips get dry, however, you probably can just it's because you're probably losing a lot of fluids, right? And through there. So what you can do is actually put a little petroleum jelly or like a lip balm, which keeps the fluid in, right? And your lips don't have to be so dry. When you come in the evening, you use a soft rag, washing your face, rub off the dead skin, but constantly use a balm, and that will eventually
keep it moist. Yes,
you would and you wouldn't have so much dry skin. So, but I would suggest that you up the amount of fluids that water preferably that you consume, and see how that does.
Let's go back to the telephone. Doctor and call. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. Yeah. I want to find out if your thyroid gland, does it have anything to do with the regulation of the temperature in your body? Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
So the thyroid gland is controlled by the hypothesis. But it tends to control almost every other metabolic function in your body. So your thyroids are what make your heart work faster, increase your pulse. That is on a long term. But your thyroid gland's function does influence a lot of your other hormonal function. Whether it controls the water, I don't want to tell you yay or nay, but a normally functioning thyroid, even a normally functioning thyroid, somebody can get heat stroke simply because they're not consuming the fluids they require.
Right. So let's go back to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening. Hello. Okay, well, we lost that caller. 435-2041. That's the number you can call, and you can get to make your contribution to the program. Yes, indeed. No, Doc. Yes. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So we're talking about policy. The thing is, like in everything else, we're going to have to make sure that all the effects of climate change are looked at. So schools, for example, we're going to have to make sure that schools have a source of water. So kids not going to drink water when they go to school in the day, but they have some water to put in their little thermos or whatever they carry. The water so they can sit. There are a lot of kids who walk home still. The kids who go to Tantine, who in Tantine have to come over town, who in different areas, rural areas, who go from one community to other. I guess some of the kids who go to school in Grenville, SAS, Grenville Second, wherever, walk home because it is within walkable distance. But we're going to have to make sure there's access to water. Whether we're going to put up water stations, like in some first world countries, free water stations, so people can fill their things. Whether we're going to have to ensure that every school child has a water canister that they can take to school, because it is a public health problem that we're going to have to approach from that standpoint, right? So policy is going to be very important in ensuring that we don't have to have one person in Grenada in ICU or on the ward every day because they're dehydrated. So apart from educating, we're going to make sure that facilities and, understanding of course, but that facilities are there so people can have access to that which prevents, right? We know that in some countries, when there is high humidity in the US, when they have, they call it, when you have 3 and 4 days of heat.
The heat waves? Heat waves. The malls open and old people just go and sit down in the AC of the malls, right? In the nursing homes, they have to ensure that they have fans and there's water. You have to create the conditions for people to survive this. You have to be able to give out advisories. You have to be able to tell people what to do and what not to do. And you have to be able to recognize when there are changes from very early to prevent even more serious situations like heat strokes. Okay, let's go back to the telephone. Dr. Nkor, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, can you turn the volume of your device?
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, good evening, caller.
I just called to find out from the doc. What causes like the cramps in your hand? And sometimes you feel like the toes again, between the toes like it's pressed up. What causes that?
Caller,
I didn't hear everything you said.
Yeah, we're not hearing you very clear. Can you just say that again?
What causes cramps?
Cramps?
In the hand.
Cramps in the hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
How old are you? Don't go. How old are you?
53.
33?
53. Yeah.
Have you had any injury to your neck?
Repeat?
Have you had any injury to your neck? Do you have pain in your neck sometimes?
She's asking if you had any injuries to your neck.
Or your shoulder?
No.
So, look, you kind of need to go let your doctor look at you. That's not something I can tell you until you get a myriad of things that can make you. I'm sorry, you didn't hear?
No, I said I've never had an injury to my neck.
Okay.
So you need to go let your doctor examine you. Right? If you're having recurrent cramps in your hand, it could be related to what you do for a living. You can have nerve pinching. You can have other things that can make your hand cramped every so often. That's not something that we can really resolve for you here. But I think you should go and let your doctor see you and examine you properly.
Okay, caller. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, hold on, doc. Hold on.
Good night, doc.
Yes, good evening.
I want to ask you a question. Normally, when I have the flu, I always have blood coming through my.
Blood coming through your where?
Blood coming through your way, caller? I'm not sure if his nose. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's his nose, but he was saying about whenever he has the flu, blood is coming through. Well,
from his nostrils. So
yeah.
So hold on. I'm going to take it that you have a cold. People call the flu very, very. They use the word flu very freely. But I think he maybe, if you're speaking of bleeding in your nose when you have a cold, it's simply because sometimes the lining of your nose becomes so inflamed, and you rub and you blow and you break the blood vessels and you bleed. If you're concerned, again, when you have things that you have to go to the doctor, especially when it is happening. Okay?
All right. So the number again, 435-2041. Call listeners, you can give us a call, and of course we will be happy to address your questions or your concerns. Let's go back to the telephone. Dr. Nkor, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
One more thing. You know cochineal? They're the family of aloes. Cochineal, the flat one.
The round one.
The young one, when I said it,
the round one.
You take a knife and you split the young aloes in the middle, and you put it in a bowl, put some water to boil, pour it in it, and when it's cool, you squeeze some lime juice in it, and you put it in the fridge, or if you don't have a fridge, you leave it out and you drink that, and it keeps you cool during the day and keep away your lip from peeling. I told a lady about it one time because she went to the doctor and her skin was peeling, and when she did it, all peeling went off. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for sharing that natural way of dealing with something that's very important. Thank you so very much. There are lots of things out that we did, our grandmothers did, and what Bush they did when. So thanks for sharing that.
Yes, indeed. Well, Doc, we're getting close to wrap-up time. I'm suggesting that we just summarize some of the things we spoke about. What is it, exhaustion, some of the symptoms, and how we can briefly prevent it. Just before we do that, let's take a final call. Doctor and call, good evening. Hello? Doctor and call, good evening.
Asking doctor, what cause does your head? It's something like something walking inside your head.
There are a lot of reasons it can feel like something walking inside your head. Depends on which part of your head. Sometimes just allergies or sometimes your sinuses clogged. Sometimes your circulation to your brain might be a little impaired. Sometimes people with mental illness feel like something walking in their head. A whole lot of stuff can happen, can cause you. So you sound like an older lady, like a more mature lady. Make sure you're always drinking enough water in the day. Fill up 2 bottles, even 2 like soda bottles, and drink that. That's more than 0. If you want, you can have more, but fill up your bottles. And you don't have to drink all the water one time, people. Keep sipping as the day goes by, and you get into the habit. I know a lot of people think that if they drink water, they have to go to the bathroom. After a while, your body adjusts it, okay? Take sips. Because if you're in a hot environment and you're sipping, you're probably not going to need to go to the bathroom because you would lose a lot of water through your skin anyway, just your body being able to cool itself down. So don't be afraid. If you're guzzling down fast, of course, you're going to have too much on board and you need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
If you're taking sips, just keep slowly all day giving yourself enough fluids. And even in the night, because the nights get hot. As the months go by, the nights get more humid, and we close our windows because mosquito or teeth or larger bless or jumbie, whatever we're afraid, right? The bottom line, we might close our houses. If we don't have proper ventilation, it will get very hot in our houses, so we are going to need to have water by our bedsides in the night so we can rehydrate, right? And remember, the old people and the young people are very important because they can't help themselves, and we need to ensure that they are cared for.
Right, wonderful. So that's basically all the time we have to sit in, Doc. So let's just briefly summarize, the heat exhaustion, and we are going to let me just squeeze in that final call. They've been trying before and they didn't get through. Doctor and call. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Yes. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, I just wanted to share my view with what to do when you're feeling hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you just burn a corn, and then you put it in with water. Just as how you do the sauce, you just burnt a corn, and that is cooling.
Okay.
And I'm glad you made that point. One of the other things we can do, because some of us have fans in our house, one of the other things you can do is by simply putting buckets of water in the room in which you find yourself, right? So that some of the heat gets absorbed and it helps to cool. If you have a fan in particular, blow the fan towards the water and it helps to cool the environment in which you find yourself.
Yes,
so by whatever means. Let me tell you something. I remember my first summer in Boston. Winter, 9 feet of snow. Summer, 9 sun burning at the same time. And I remember the first night.
Two extremes.
No, it literally feel like somebody light a cold pot under my bed, because I'm thinking winter's so cold, summer's not going to be that bad. Like somebody literally,
to me, the colder the winter, the worse the summer. Yes.
Listen to me. I put a sheet in the bathtub the night to get some sleep. Because I didn't have a fan, I was not prepared. I was not told it can get hot. Somebody under there fanning one cold pot under my bed. Trust me, it was. So, we have to be prepared. And it's going to get worse.
Of course.
We are at the same time. So I'm going to do my summary. Climate change is real. And it's going to affect our health. This overheating of our bodies is going to be one of those. We therefore have to take in front. First of all, by trying to protect our environment as much as possible, so that our rain doesn't get much less, so that we'll have water in our rivers, we'll have water in our pipes, all the rest of it. So we can control the amount of mosquitoes. We have to keep our country in a state of good environment health. That's the first thing. We have to recognize that as it gets hotter, we are going to have to change some of our behaviors. Wear appropriate clothing. You can't go there too naked, and you can't go there too clothed. Do what we used to do 50 years ago, and you can ask around. Children wore little cotton clothing. Girls wore little simple dresses, and they played up and down. Was there mosquito? Yes. Your grandmother rubbed some coconut oil on your foot and tell you don't stop. But the truth is, we're going to have 1 billion people more affected by mosquitoes' presence in this climate change. Dehydration or lack of water in your body, appropriate amounts of water, and sometimes those little salts are there that give you balance, is one of the challenges that's going to cause us. Extreme heat from outside is going to cause us to have challenges with with heat regulation within the body, right? What we wear, what medications we take, whether we drink alcohol, especially alcohol. And trust me, we always have a reason every day to drink alcohol. Okay, we make rum and we drink it. We're going to have to do all of that in moderation. Okay? Overheating of your body can cause death. How do we prevent that? By recognizing, first of all, that this is a problem that we can have. That are extremely old or extremely young people are at greater risk because their body's ability to regulate, to take care of its temperature, that is not as developed or has started dying, right? That there's a thing called your core temperature, which is that relationship between your inside of your body, your normal temperature, and the environment that you have to keep at about 30-something. So when you check your temperature, it's like 37 degrees, right? Once that starts to change, your body has to act differently. We can simply prevent the challenges that come, the dizziness and the headaches and the muscle cramps and the nausea and the vomiting and the fatigue and all the symptoms that are related over the hot bodies, the sweatiness, right? The sweating with boost pimples, feeling a little confused, that's heading for bad space, are things that we can prevent if we simply hydrate, drink water, stay away from the excess heat, and do all the behaviors. I hope also that the government, whoever is in power, I don't care, the person who represents the well-being, the persons who represent the well-being of our population, take into consideration the health challenges. And this is only one of them, like Godfrey and I said. This is only one health challenge, but which is going to cost us dearly. You don't want your child suffering from overheating or having severe problems with heat stroke and having brain damage, permanent brain damage. You don't want anybody having to go into the hospital because they have heat stroke, simply because it's going to cost our system. Right? We leave it for things that we can't control. Mm-hmm. These are things that we have control over. Share your message. And I'm going to ask everybody here, like I ask every week. Learn one thing tonight and share it with your friends. Practice it in your family. We have to make our lives better. It doesn't cost a lot. Somebody said, but so what's called sauce up in water? Do it. Try it. Right? Mm-hmm. Try things that are sane and healthy. Try it once, see how you do with it. But please make sure that you take care of yourself. At the end of the day, we can only share information with you. You practice it and you will be better for it. Trust me on that one.
Right.
Wish everybody all the best. We on next week?
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, Easter coming and
so we need to we're going to talk about it because maybe we could look at accidents because at around this holiday time
I would even look at accidents next week. You know why? Because I think the whole issue of accidents is such a big global public health problem.
It is.
We could probably talk about it in 2 weeks. And yes, it is very important. I've been thinking about it. We just had a new road opened, which I discovered yesterday morning driving to work that there were more trucks on my road, and I was going to work late in the mid-morning, and there were more trucks on the road already using it. So I wish we'll all recognize the road for its purpose. Mm-hmm. It's not for speeding, okay? It's not for drinking and driving to get to Bush as you faster or go off, or vice versa. It's really an enhanced way of getting to your destination a little quicker, but safer.
Yes, indeed.
Please, that road is going to be there long after you're dead.
Indeed.
You can't kill the road.
Indeed, indeed.
And that's one of the things we need to think about, how we are all going to be responsible for our behaviors on the road. Everybody blames everybody. Everybody has a responsibility to ensure that they drive responsibly.
Right.
Okay?
You know,
I hope we use it for the purpose it was intended, to make our lives a little easier.
Yes, indeed.
And longer.
Yeah. Now, Doc, one of the things you highlighted was the importance of people staying hydrated, drinking a lot of water and everything like that. But before I close, I just want to make this very important point. One of the things that will be affected most in a significant way as a result of climate change and rising temperature is water. There could be lots of drought. So, folks, we would need water to help us, deal with heat-related illnesses. And so we should not be wasting it. Yeah? We should not be wasting it. Our rivers are drying up. Don't take this for granted. This is not by chance,
Our sources are drying up.
That's not by chance. We need to pay attention to what is happening around us. We need to mind our business and focus on what is important. We cannot at this time afford to be wasting water. We just can't, because we are going to need it.
Some people tend to think that they pay in Nawasa so they can waste the water.
Yeah, but Nawasa must have the water for you to get it.
Water.
Well, definitely. They must have it before you get it. So, folks, let's pay attention to that. There are a lot of practices that we need to change. Sometimes when we bathing, a lot of water is just wasted, just running while we probably soaping off. When we're brushing our teeth, we let the tap running while we're brushing. All of these things, if we try to cut them off, then we can help save water that we are going to need down the road. So we need to pay attention to our actions. Yeah, we need to pay attention to our actions so that we can play our part in reducing our carbon footprint and, of course, doing whatever we can to slow global warming. Let me just close by saying, folks, heat stroke and heat exhaustion will become much more common as temperatures rise. Especially for those who live in tropical regions or who work outdoors. They're talking directly to us, folks. This has serious repercussions for the elderly and the obese, who have more difficulty shedding excess heat. People at risk for heart failure and individuals with diabetes are also at risk. Folks, I leave this with you tonight. Let's pay attention to what is happening around us. Let's mind our business. Climate change is real, and we need to protect ourselves from heat-related illnesses. Thank you very much. That's our program this evening. Doc, thank you so very much. It was really wonderful.
And may the best team win Intercall.
That'd be SAS, I beg your pardon. So.
Or that'd be PBC, I beg your pardon.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night. Don't forget.
Everybody, please go and support our young people as they're out there showing their talents. We're going to have Olympians among these people who are coming up. We have very talented young people.
Yes,
please
indeed.
go and support them. And I hope they're drinking a lot of water.
Folks, don't forget tomorrow evening you can join us at 8:30 for our Climate Reality. Tomorrow, another very, very important topic. We're looking at extreme weather events. Hurricanes are getting more intense. The dry seasons are getting longer. Droughts are getting longer. So join us tomorrow 8:30. We will have Miss Elizabeth Manuel from CCIRF joining us, and we'll also have Mr. John Peters from CIMS joining us to talk about extreme weather events. So I'll see you then. Do have a good night. All the best.
Are you looking for a way to make a meaningful contribution to your credit union? Nexa Credit Union invites you to consider volunteering your time and expertise to serve on one of the following: Board of Directors, Supervisory and Compliance Committee, or Credit Committee. Members wishing to be considered must be active members